bandhana jaga bandhana bandita mai niranjana nararupa dhara niranjana nararupa dhara nirguna guna mochana agha dushana jaga dushana chidhana kai gyanan jana vimala nayana gyanan jana vimala nayana vikhane maha jai bhashar bhava sagar chira unmadam prema pathar bhaktar jana yugala charana bhaktar jana yugala charana tarana bhava par jrimbhita yuga ishara jaga dishara yoga shahai niram dhanam shamarita mana niram dhanam shamarita mana nirakhi tavam kripa Ganjana dukha ganjana karunaghana karma kathor pranarpana jagata tarana pranarpana jagata tarana kintana kalipdo vanchana kama kanchana pati शारम हे नार वार त्यागीश शारम हे नार वार देह पादिम अनुम निर्भय गात शांशाय दृढ़ निश्चय मानस वान निष्कारणं भक्त शारण निष्कारणं भक्त शारण त्यजि जाति कुल मान संपद तव श्रीपाद भाव गोष्पाद वारि यथा प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन जग जन दुख जाय संपद तव श्रीपद भव गोष्पद वारि यथाय प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन प्रेमार्पण समदर्शन जग जन दुख जाय नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत मन वचनैका धार प्रभु मन वचनैका धार ज्योतिर ज्योति जल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति जल हृदय कंदर तुमि तम भंजन हार प्रभु तुमि तम भंजन हार नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्यमनातीत मन वचनैका धार प्रभु मन वचनैका धार ज्योतिर ज्योति जल हृदय कंदर ज्योतिर ज्योति जल हृदय कंदर तुमि तम भंजन हार प्रभु तुमि तम भंजन हार धे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग धे 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 लंग रंग भंग बाजे अंग संग मृदंग गाइछे छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तमार गाइछे छंद भक्त वृंद आरती तमार जय जय आरती तमार हर हर आरती तमार शिव शिव आरती तमार खंडन भाव बंधन जाग बंधन बंदे तमाय जय ह्रीं ऋतं तमचलो गुणजित् गुणेभ्यः नाक्तं दिवं सकरुणं तव पादपद्मं मोहं कषं बहुकृतं न भजे यतोऽहं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो भक्तिर्भगश्च भजनं भवभेदकारी गच्छन्तलं सुविपुलं गमनाय तत्त्वं वक्त्रोद्धृतोऽपि हृदये न मे भाति किञ्चित् तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो तेजस्तरन्ति तरसां त्वयि तृप्त तृष्णां रागे कृते ऋतपथे त्वयि राम कृष्णे मर्त्यामृतं तव पदं मरणोर्मि नाशं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो कृत्यं करोति कलुषं कुहकान्तकारीं शान्तं शिवं सुविमलं तव नाम नाथ यस्मादहं त्वशरणो जगदेकगम्यं तस्मात् त्वमेव शरणं मम दीनबन्धो ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतार वरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। ॐ नमो श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। सर्वमङ्गल माङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके स्तुते सृष्टि स्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातने गुणाश्रये गुणमय नारायणे नमोस्तुते शरणागत दीनार्थ परित्राण परायणे सर्वस्यारति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते जय 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 महामाई की जय जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय। अच्छा अच्छा प्रकृतिं परमां अभयां वरदां नररूपधरां जनतापहरां शरणागत सेवक दोषकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां गुणहीनसुतान् अपराधयुतान् कृपयाद् समुद्धर मोहगतान् तरणीं भवसागर पारकरीं प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां विषयं कुसुमं परिहृत्य सदा चरणामृत शान्तिशुधां पिबभृङ्गमनो भवरोगहरां प्रणमामि परां जननीं जगतां कृपां कुरु महादेवी श्रुतेषु प्रणतेषु च चरणाश्रयदानेन कृपामयि नमोस्तुते लज्जापटावृते नित्यं शारदे ज्ञानदायिके पापेभ्यो न सदा रक्ष कृपामयि नमोऽस्तुते रामकृष्णगतप्राणां तन्नाम श्रवणप्रियां तदभावरञ्जिताकारां प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः पवित्रं चरितं यस्य पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रता स्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै दिव्यै नमो नमः देवीं प्रसन्नां प्रणतां त्रिहन्त्रीं योगीन्द्रपूज्यां युगधर्मपात्रीं तां शारदां भक्तिविज्ञानदात्रीं दयास्वरूपां प्रणमामि नित्यं स्नेहेन बध्नासि मनोस्मदीयं दोषान् शेषान् सगुणीकरोषि दयशेषदोषान् साङ्ख्ये गृहीत्वा यदिदं विचित्रं प्रसीद मातर्विनयेन याचे नित्यं भव स्नेहवती श्रुतेषु प्रेमैकबिन्दुं चिरदग्धचित्ते विषिञ्च चित्तं कुरुनाशु शान्तं जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः
Namashri Atirajaya Vivekananda Sure Sachit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharane. So, last time, this lecture on realization by Vivekananda, we were discussing what exactly this word faith means and whether it really means belief without reasoning or not. Yeah? And depending on the particular kind of culture or belief system or understanding that people come from, the answer to this question differs slightly. Yeah? So as we said, so let me read out this particular paragraph and we'll expand on it because I think that the topic is brought up here. So here is how Vivekananda describes it. If you have seen a certain country and a man forces you to say that you have not seen it, still in your heart of hearts, you know you have. This expression here is important. You know in your heart of hearts that you have. On the one hand, he's talking about knowledge. On the other hand, it's said it's a kind of a feeling that is being talked about, knowing in your heart of hearts. And it is precisely this combination of knowledge and felt reality, this particular combination is really what should pass off as faith, not an intellectual assent, not an emotional exuberance, but really this combination of felt, something that is felt as real, along with this capacity to know. So in some sense, it's a combination, as we said, of these three faculties: knowledge, feeling, and willing. Yeah? These three primary faculties. In other words, it's basically understanding, knowing, or feeling with an integrated being. Yeah? So very often in the more devotional aspects of religion, there is this tendency to decry people who dare reason. Yeah? And that somehow or the other is not a particularly healthy culture. Because after all, this faculty of reasoning that we have is something that is, in some sense, unique to human beings. And to say that you refuse that faculty or you deny that faculty altogether is saying that you make yourself stunted and somehow blunt. On the other hand, it also does not mean that you keep, so we had talked about this particular verse. This is after all, this lecture is really based on the Kathopanishad. So we had discussed this particular verse from the Kathopanishad at length last time and the time before that. Na esha tarkena mati apaneya. Yeah? So which means that so long as this exercise of reasoning is guided by a desire for truth, which means this desire for a felt reality, it's perfectly fine, it is perfectly reasonable, in fact it's perfectly essential. Because if you don't do it, then all kinds of superstitious nonsense will come and clutter our minds, clutter our understanding. Not so a mere intellectual exercise for the sake of rational gymnastics. That's not the point of it. Yeah? So not intellectual gymnastics for its own sake, not rational exercise for its own sake, which means The academic discipline of arguing to and fro, logical argumentation, is not what is aimed at here. The aim is not just to have an intellectual exercise, which is, as we described last time, essentially the intellectual analog of a mindless ritual. And what exactly is the mindful aspect of the same exercise? It is when that capacity to reason is hooked to the engine that drives the being towards truth, towards felt reality, which means towards further and further integration of the rational faculty with the emotive, with the volitional faculties, which means first that which is reasoned out is felt and acted upon. Yeah? If something is merely reasoned upon and not felt, then it has not transitioned to the level at which the person understands that this really is true. That's the first step. And then, if one is not acting on the basis of what one is claiming to have felt is true, then it means that the volitional part of the being is not participating in this pursuit for truth. It is precisely when these three faculties get integrated that the integration of these three faculties can legitimately be called faith. Yeah? That's what is being aimed at here. That's what's being explained here. So when you see religion and God in a more intense sense than you see this external world, nothing will be able to shake your belief. See, for instance, here is the point. We see this world around us. It gives us a certain sense of, let's say, for want of a better word, belief that we close our eyes and open it again, the world is going to be around, which means we act as if the world is real. This is really faith in the real sense that this world is real. This is not a rash, reasoned out thing. It is something that is probably born out of habits, but whatever be the reason, whatever be the causal chain leading to it, the belief system is genuine. Yeah? That this world is real is a felt truth. And so what is being said here is that when you see religion and God in a more intense sense, therefore, the sense of reality of anything supersensuous, otherwise we keep on using these words. People who are more devotional in nature use God. People who are more analytical in nature either use Shunya if they have a Buddhist inclination, or they say Brahman if they are Vedantic, or they say consciousness if they are more scientifically inclined. But how much of it is sensed as real? And it's only when it is sensed to be more real than the way we sense the world, than the way we look out and feel that this world is real. It's only when that feeling of reality about the world gets superseded by the sense of reality in whatever this transcendent construct that we're talking about, be it you can call it consciousness or Atman or Brahman or Shunya or God, doesn't matter what name you give it. It's only when this particular, let's say, suprasensuous reality dawns in our being and is granted subjectively a greater sense of reality. Only then do we have any right to call it real. And that is the root of what is called faith here. Yeah? When you have real faith, nothing will be able to shake your belief. Just as if somebody comes along and tells us, oh no, this world does not really exist, it's not real, etc., etc., which is why we have such a hard time grasping either Madhyamaka Buddhism which declares that everything is Shunya, or Vedanta, which says Jagat Mithya. It's very difficult to grasp. Why? Because we are habituated. We are habituated in granting reality to things that we see through our eyes, hear through our ears, etc. And therefore, this argument, the logical vichara that we exercise, is too weak an instrument, too powerless to strive against this habit that we have developed of granting reality to the world around us. So what is necessary is that this power of analytical vichara, which means that if our reason essentially says that all that we are seeing around us does not have a real ground to stand on, and we have this, and this analytical will leads us to a direct perception of this conscious element in us, then only will it supersede the sense of reality that we grant the world. Unless and until we experience subjectively, not in any mystical sense, not in any transcendental sense, mystifying and essentially cluttering something that is very simple by a superstructure that is not. It is only when we have grasped the simple, grasped it with our being, that it will essentially become an object of our focus. Our attention and awareness will be focused on it. And it's this precise focus that our attention and awareness is habituated in focusing on the world as real. When this focus is turned away on the principle of consciousness itself, call it whatever you like, Atman, God, Brahman, Shunya, whatever, it's not important. It's only when that focus is turned towards it, on itself, so to speak, then that which was granting reality to perceived objects is perceived as real. In other words, we are turning our attention not upon the principle that is not cause in the sense of a temporal cause, but as a principle that explains, as a principle of knowledge, as a principle of truth. When we turn our attention to that, and it actually occupies our field of awareness and focus and attention, then only does the external lose its importance. This losing of importance, this losing of value is exactly what Vedanta means when it says Jagat Mithya. It does not mean that this stuff is false, false in the sense of, say, horns of a hare or horns of a rabbit is the famous example that Vedanta gives. It's not fake in that sense, but it is of no value. It's of no lasting value. That's what Mithyatva means, really. So essentially, anything that degenerates, and since we are reading the Kathopanishad, this is exactly the Viveka Vairagya that Nachiketa is talking about. Shobhava martyasya yadantakaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti teja. Yeah? What is he saying? He's saying that all these things you're offering me, all these song and dance, it's of no value. It's of no lasting value. So I will not be satisfied with it. Therefore, I need that which is lasting, which is not caught, not enmeshed in the framework that takes up things, makes them emerge, then lets them decay and degenerate. Yeah? So this particular capacity to turn this focus of attention onto the source of consciousness itself within us is really what is being talked about. Somehow or the other, when we deal with the world, we have this principle of consciousness within us which captures certain objects. They could be thoughts, they could be ideas, they could be feelings, they could be objects themselves. And all our life in the world is in this twilight zone between this conscious principle which we regard as light and the unconscious principle which is its object. And because we are capable of thinking, we bring along this intellectual superstructure which calls this conscious principle the subject, that which it is aware of the object, and that which goes in between knowledge or feeling or willing. Yeah? So subject, object, and the relationship between them. This is the Triputi that Vedanta talks about, and all our life is spent on this, spent at this level. But since we are situated in this confusion of the subject and the object, between the conscious principle and the unconscious principle, therefore, we exercise our intellects to separate out that which is the object from that which is the subject. We think in terms of dualities, therefore we talk about the subjective principle and the objective principle. Why? Because we would like to clarify this confusion. And once we do that, once we start doing that, what we are doing really is trying to reduce the confusion in our minds between the conscious aspect of ourselves and the unconscious aspect of ourselves. It is then that we start understanding which aspect is unconscious, which aspect is conscious, and can we turn our attention away from the latter towards the former. This is the exercise. It's something to be done. It's not something to be talked about, not something to be merely reasoned, not some intellectual gymnastics. It's an experiment. It's an experiment that is to be done on ourselves. We are the laboratory. We are the scientist in the laboratory. Yeah? This psychophysical system with which we are accompanied all our lives, this is the laboratory, and we turn our attention within this towards ourselves. This exercise of the faculty to get out of this mesh of what we call the objective reality is what this exercise is about. Then meaning it's only when this that which was granting reality, the faculty in ourselves which was granting reality, which was granting this truth value to experiences, has been isolated, at least to some extent. It's only when that is done, then you have real faith. Yeah. That is what is meant by the words in your gospel. He who has faith, even as a grain of mustard seed, then you will know the truth because you have become the truth. Then you will know the truth because you have become the truth. This is the sentence he says. What is it really trying to say? It's basically saying that so long as one perceives that which is true as outside of oneself, so long as one has this subject-object duality, one has not grasped the truth. Grasping really means not through our hands, but through this inner faculty, yeah? By the deepest faculty in our psyche. And when that tries to catch hold of truth, what happens? Since it's with our whole being catches hold of the truth not as something separate from itself. If it was separate from itself, then there'll still be some dissatisfaction. And this question, what is true about it, what is true about it, is a feeling that will bother us. It's only when that which was being sought and that which was the seeker are identified completely, This is what is meant by becoming the truth. Becoming is, see, where is becoming here? It's again from this word being, right? So being is now, becoming is tomorrow. Or is the future tense of the same thing? Yeah. So if one is to be the truth, what is happening is that the sat or the being aspect of reality and knowledge, which is the truth aspect of reality, are combined. Again, as I said, felt reality and knowledge gets combined, which means not outside, not in the world, but this trichotomy in which we divide our psyche. Something is thought about and reasoned about, and somehow or the other arrive at some kind of reasoned truth. Yes, that's one faculty, true enough. Then there's something that is felt. That's the emotional faculty refined. And then there is a sense of reality. This is the sat. Sat, yeah. So basically, satisfaction or joy on the one hand, truth on the second, and being itself on the third. All these three combined, which means basically it's not combined as three things put together like a flower bouquet, but the capacities in ourselves which manifest through these three faculties are traced to a common unification in our psyche. Then felt, thought, and willed become one. And this unification or integration in our psyche is what is being sought. Not a fragmented reality, but an integrated one. Then you will know the truth because you have become the truth. That's what is said here. And he goes on to say this. This is the watchword of the Vedanta. Realize religion, no talking will do. But it is done with great difficulty. He has hidden himself inside the atom, this ancient one who resides in the inmost recesses of every human heart. The sages realized him through the power of introspection and got beyond both joy and misery, beyond what we call virtue and vice, beyond good and bad deeds, beyond being and non-being. He who has seen him has seen the reality. This is again a very profound passage. And this is basically making real. What does realization mean? Not something mystical, not something esoteric. Make real is what realize is. Yeah? And it says clearly that it is done with great difficulty. Why? Because we are accustomed to thinking in terms of this fragmentation. So this is the difficulty. Our habits are the difficulty, nothing more. He has hidden himself inside the atom. The sages realized him through the power of introspection. Our normal powers of knowledge, feeling, thinking, willing are mostly outward directed, not introspective, not inward directed, which means we don't ask ourselves, where do these faculties come from in our psyche? From within ourselves, we don't try to trace the root of these things. And because we don't, it's because we need to train ourselves to do that. Yeah, that's why it's difficult, for no other reason. Yeah. So in one again here we will come to that. This is basically paranchikhani vyatrinat swayambhu. Tasmat parak pashyati na antaratman kaschid dhira pratyakatmanam aikshat avritta chakshu amritatvam. Yeah, this is also in the Kathopanishad. Yeah. Paranchi. See, there's this again. It's essentially this is being talked about. This particular line is being elucidated here. Parak is outside. Pratyak is within. Yeah. So when now, again, one of our former presidents, Swami Ranganathan, used to say, see, finger pointing outward is what's parak. Same finger pointing inwards is what's called pratyak. So pratyak is directly perceived truth or reality. The same thing directed outward is what is called parak. So what does it mean here? Paranchi, kha ani. Kha is literally, kha is a Sanskrit word which means the sky, but it refers to the senses through which knowledge is obtained. So our Gyanendriyas, as they call it, senses through which knowledge is acquired, that's directed outward. Paranchi kha ani is a plural, all the senses. Vyatrinat, it's as if Swayambhu, that which is this principle of consciousness created by itself, it as if it assaults the senses and directs them outward. Tasmat parak pashyati, that therefore the senses move outward. Na antaratma, does not point inside, does not view itself. Kaschit dhiraha, again that word dhi or dhira. Kaschit, a rare dhira, a rare individual in whom these three faculties, feeling, willing and thinking or analyzing, are integrated. Kaschit dhira, a rare person in whom these faculties are combined as one. Kaschit dhira pratyak atmanam aikshat. Again, from parak, pratyak, which means the directly perceived self. Kaschit dhira pratyak atmanam aikshat. Aikshat means perceives, and after desire, perceives this self. What? Avritta chakshu. Avritta chakshu means, avritta means covered. Chakshu is eye. So that means it prevents these senses. So it prevents these senses from moving outward and directs its energies or its faculties within. For what? Amritatvamichan. By trying to catch hold of that faculty within that is not caught within the meshes of mortality. It's difficult to say immortal here because that has very, very religious connotations. But here what one is really doing is trying to seek the source of that faculty within oneself so that it becomes integrated. Yeah? Then you will know, so this is the watchword of Vedanta. And it basically says, what happens through this power of introspection? The sages realized him through the power of introspection. And so what? Got beyond both joy and misery. Beyond what we call virtue and vice. All this stuff about this organized religions, the assault in terms of, oh, this is sinful and this is not, and this is papa and this is punya. If you do this, you will go to heaven. All kinds of, in some sense, adolescent stories. I mean, in some places it's called bala buddhi, for children's intellects. Beyond virtue and vice, and then says beyond good and bad deeds. Brother in one place says, na karmana kaniyan. Yeah. So basically, it does not attain to any expansion through good deeds, does not shrink through bad ones. Beyond, and here it comes, this is a critical thing, he's just thrown it in there, but it's rather important. Beyond being and non-being. Yeah? We seem to be seeking for something that is, but what's being said is that no, even this being and non-being are intellectual constructs. The reality is beyond both. He who has seen him has seen the reality. It is this direct perception of reality beyond duality, which means the faculties which are accustomed to thinking in terms of reality in fragmented terms start unifying because they are seeking this common source from which all these faculties of thinking, feeling, willing emerge. And then thinking melts into feeling and willing, And so also for the other faculties. Yeah? So feeling melts into thinking and willing, and so on. But then what happens of all this, all the contraption that the organized religions preach to us, independent of whatever organized religion it is, it always talks about this kind of stuff. And he raises that question. Okay, that's fine. So you've gotten to the core of the issue. But then what is left? He says, but what about heaven? I mean, all these stories with which we are fed since our childhood. What then about heaven? And he explains, it was the idea of happiness minus unhappiness. Happiness minus unhappiness. That is to say, what we want is the joys of this life minus its sorrows. And essentially what he is doing is, see, the idea of heaven is really an external manifestation of some desire in our hearts. We desire happiness. We want to get away from unhappiness. And therefore, what do? We concoct an imaginary world, a story, a telltale a tale where of a place, of a concrete physical place, where there is only joy and no sorrow. It's as if we've made those places real. We've granted reality. We've granted reality to those places just as we grant reality to this world around us. And without any evidence whatsoever, apart from this narrative-making habit in our minds, we grant such an imaginary thing the reality that we grant this world. And so we talk about heavens and hells and etc., etc. So what is the root of that idea is being talked about here? Where does it come forth from? And what is being said here is that it comes forth from our own being, from our own hearts. It's not created outside. It's there within ourselves. Those ideas are there within ourselves, and therefore various things are concocted out of it. Various imaginary stories, and it's kind of irrelevant to ask whether heavens and hells are real or not. It's irrelevant basically because the reality that grants these things, the faculties that grant these things reality are there within us. Why not seek there? And the reason why we don't seek there is very simple. It's because we are not habituated towards introspection. We are accustomed to thinking with our minds directed outward. And because our minds are directed outward, so we grant some kind of a physical reality to all these imaginary tales about heavens and hells. Somewhere somebody is being fried in oil, another place there are 24-hour song and dance sequence, all kinds of nonsense. Yeah, so basically it's basically some kind of childish imagination, no more. Yeah. When somebody says that, okay, so just by thought you are going to enjoy. Yeah, sure, it's the same thing happens during our dreams. It's happening on a daily basis. It's not something esoteric. It's not something for which you have to come up with some imaginary, fictitious thing and say, oh, there is this great place. It's a common sense thing. You remove all the exclamation marks from all these statements, replace them by something tautological that's happening on a day-to-day basis, and the stupid wonder of it that was there is removed, and it becomes something that is commonsensical. Yeah. Which means basically, yeah. So it's in some sense it's depriving a person of certain indulgences. But in a place in Vivekchudamani Shankar says, Natu chittasya lalanam. Yeah. So basically it's not encouraging, it's basically preventing the mind from going off on these very pleasant daydream sequences. So it's basically retracing the path of the mind from this concoction from this construction of some imagined reality to the very real faculty which manufactures them. Yeah. So what then about heaven? And he says, it was the idea of happiness minus unhappiness. What has happened? See, it's after all Vivekananda, so it's Viveka. Meaning what? This capacity to analyze and throw away the trash. The object that was constructed is imaginary, unnecessary, unreal. What is true about it is the faculty within ourselves that gave rise to that. And it says, what is it traced to? The idea of happiness minus unhappiness. This is something that we can immediately grasp, because the idea of happiness is there in ourselves, in our psyche. The idea of unhappiness is also there. So what are we doing? It's imagining a reality in which the former is there and the second is not there. That's all that's happening, nothing more. That is to say, and he's kind of very pointed here, what we want is the joys of this life minus its sorrows. That's what we want. So, the idea of heaven and the idea of a hell or whatever, the idea of punya and papa, the idea of something that is beneficial, virtuous versus something that is sinful, where is it traced? It is traced to this desire for happiness and an aversion to unhappiness. In other words, it is traced to this fundamental faculty in everyone's psyche of seeking the pleasant and avoiding the unpleasant. That is the root of all this heavens and hells. Nothing else. So why not, instead of going about in all this mystical wild goose chase, catch hold of that which is real. It is there in this very moment. A faculty in ourselves that desires the pleasant and is averse to the unpleasant. We don't have to manufacture some kind of a heaven or earth or some imagined reality for that. And then he starts critiquing it. He says, we want joys minus sorrows. And then he critiques it. That is a very good idea, no doubt. It comes naturally. Naturally. Meaning, we are naturally programmed to seek the pleasant and avoid the unpleasant. It comes naturally in that sense. But it is a mistake throughout. It's a mistake. Why? Because it's not consistent with truth. Because there is no such thing as absolute good, nor any such thing as absolute evil. There is no absolute in good or evil. This is what he is talking about, which means ethics or ethical concerns, which is what gives rise to this notion of papa and punya, etc., is not something that resists full enquiry. It is the basis of social constructs. It is the basis of these narratives. It is the basis of these stories, particularly all the stuff in our Puranas, all the stuff which is the mythological aspects of various organized religions. It does not make them true in any in any lasting sense. And that is why he says there is no such thing, because one is seeking the good and avoiding the bad. There is no such thing as absolute good, nor any such thing as absolute evil. To recognize that would be to recognize duality. On the other hand, it is our subjective being itself which conceives the good, which conceives the bad. And the moment it conceives the good, it immediately, simultaneously conceives its opposite, the bad. These cannot come except in pairs. And so the solution, if it is to be sought, is to be sought at a site, at a faculty where good and bad are recognized not as two separate realities, but as two forms in which our minds perceive the world. That which it moves towards is what it calls pleasant. In a more refined sense, that is exactly what becomes the good. That which it moves away from is called unpleasant in its lower aspects and evil in its deeper aspects. But when one is when one is really getting at the basis of things, one is really asking what is it in us that regards something as good and something else as evil. In other words, what is the faculty in our beings which gives rise to this dichotomy of the good and the evil? That inquiry, pursued relentlessly, essentially allows this notion of heaven and hell, Swarga, etc., and all figments of our imagination to be what they are, namely unreal exercising of the mind without value. Without value is what is mithya. It's not recognizing, not granting them any value. That is what is called mithyatva. Yeah? Essentially, understanding that all these are products of the imagination, and it's really completely irrelevant for me to try to understand whether they are or they are not, because this is idle speculation and without value. It is precisely this refusal, this steadfast, adamantine refusal to indulge ourselves in these speculations about something of value, about something imaginary having value, is what is called Jagat Mithyatva. So when we take that stand, when we take that clear analytical stand, then only we can say, all this, I have nothing, no interest, all heavens and earths and hells, all hopes and fears. This is from Vivekananda Samada Sannyasi. Yeah? All life, both here, do I renounce all heavens and earths and hells, all hopes and fears. Yeah? So essentially, so long as we have hopes, we have this idea of a heaven. So long as we have fears, we have an idea of a hell. But so the idea of heaven comes from hope in ourselves. The idea of hell comes from fear in ourselves. So it's not that heavens and hells are to be given up. It's basically these hopes and fears in ourselves which give rise to heavens, the idea of heaven and the idea of hell. That's where the attack, the analytical faculty needs to be focused up, and these contraptions, these hopes and fears, which clutter our mind, seen for what they are. What are they to be seen for? They are seen as things which merely cloud our understanding, and hence they are not of value. It's this capacity to separate our hopes and fears from ourselves and see them objectively as something outside, which means the subject moves a little deeper towards its own locus, and these hopes and fears are forsaken and given up for what they are, valueless. Yeah? Again, Shvobhava Martyasya Yadantakaitat, same Viveka of Nachiketa, same Shraddha of Nachiketa, but now it has proceeded one more step by moving deeper. Not saying that all this song and dance sequence of the external world, but forsaking the faculty which thought of the song and dance sequence as something desirable and its opposite as undesirable. So this faculty itself, which thought of these things as polar opposites, is now regarded as the object of analysis. That which was the subject at the previous stage now becomes the object of analysis, because one is seeking a further unification. I will be away for the next 3 weeks. I'll return in the first week of March. So the Saturday following 5th of March is when we will come back. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.